Welcome to Doing the Most, the series where we talk about the misadventures of entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Georgie, execution strategist and serial entrepreneur. This series is here to get real about what entrepreneurial life truly looks like. We are driven, persistent, hardworking, ambitious. We are human, and these are our stories. Please note, all Season 1 episodes were previously recorded for our video series. Today we have Corey Stedman, the CTO of NodeCapital, here on the Doing the Most web series, focusing on the misadventures of entrepreneurship. NodeCapital is a company that mixes data science and cryptocurrency to figure out the best trends, and Corey is going to dive in a little bit more into that. So Corey, welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Hi, Georgie. Thanks for having me, first and foremost. So I'm the CTO of NodeCapital. I'm behind one of our products that we're pitching, we're working on right now, which is Pouch. It's an accounting software for cryptocurrency. So think of QuickBooks and a typical cryptocurrency wallet like Exodus put together. So you're able to label your transactions, annotate the transactions, and roughly figure out your tax obligation based off of the purchases that you've done with cryptocurrency. So that's what we're working on right now. That's the main product that I've been working on at NodeCapital.
Nice. So you told us kind of a little bit about what it is and what it does. What's the purpose of it? Like, why is this important? Why does something like NodeCapital need to exist?
So what's happening is that even though in computer years, 8, 9, 10 years is a long time, in the context of finance, it's actually just a blip on the map. And I say that in regards to cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency in concept came around in 2008, but in actual execution in 2009. But the financial markets have been around since, hundreds of years.
Definitely.
And what it has done is, at the very least, it's created a conversation as to what we consider to be money and value and how we transfer that value to one another. It really redefines how we interact with one another on a financial level. And so typically, before we had Excel and QuickBooks, people would write in ledgers to reconcile, their books and their balances. And ledgers are great, but they're not efficient. They get destroyed. They get marked up. You need to rip out paper. It's better to do it digitally. But Excel is not efficient enough. And that's where QuickBooks comes into play. Right now, in regards to the cryptocurrency space, we are at the ledger area, where even though we're dealing with a digital currency, in regards to the tools to really manage and track it as if it was USD or British pounds or euros or yen, we don't really have that. And that's what NodeCapital is looking to do, bring those kind of tools to really standardize and make financial institutions or established people in the financial industry more comfortable handling and dealing with it, and actually making it more tangible in a sense for them to utilize.
Yeah, definitely. So I know I personally currently don't own any cryptocurrency, right? And there's a lot of features to do with that, right? I don't understand too much about cryptocurrency. I'm trying to learn, trying to teach myself, and then the process of buying and just spending, right? Buying and spending. So for NodeCapital, who's your target right now? Is it more so people who are more advanced in the cryptocurrency field? Is it for everybody, for beginners? Like, what is the education behind it? What is who are the people that will be using this platform that would think, oh my God, this is great? I could see, as like an early adapter of many things, I could see this is definitely important. But right now, when you guys are marketing and when you guys are looking for investors, who are the people that's going to be that first on the platform kind of using it?
So initially we're targeting VC firms,
Okay.
banks, accounting firms, accounting departments within large companies, law firms, um, government agencies as well. Anyone that has to deal with the reconciliation of cryptocurrency. So in regards to government agencies, there's some states that are accepting Bitcoin or Litecoin as a form of tax payment. That's huge. But how are they going to store it? Or how are they going to reconcile it? So you need a software to deal with that. A lot of VC firms, typically, they go for equity deals, and they see the return in like 7, 8 years. Whereas now, what they're starting to do is get into the ICO space, which gives them a lot faster turnaround. But then if you're dealing with all these different ICOs, all these different tokens, how are you storing them? How are you managing them? And so that's where Pouch comes into play as well. So for right now, we're dealing with the enterprise level. However, later on, we're going to have a more consumer-friendly, just a regular person version that'll cater to just the average person.
Awesome. I'm really excited to see how it grows for you and what happens. But as the show is named, The Misadventures of Entrepreneurship, right? It sounds like you're doing really great stuff and you're, on good track right now with NodeCapital. But I want to talk a little bit more about what got you to the NodeCapital point. I met Corey about 4 years ago. I think it's more than that. I don't even.
I think like 2014.
Yeah, it's 2014. Yeah,
2014, 2013.
Yeah, about to hit up on 2019. Yeah, so about 4 years ago we met, and you came into my network through Caribbeans in Tech and Entrepreneurship. So that's a site collective, right? That I have that focuses on connecting Caribbean innovators, techies, entrepreneurs from the diaspora to one another, whether they're in the US or whether they're abroad, right? And you came to that collective. When you first came, you did one of our early pitch nights. And talk a little bit more about what you pitched at that first pitch night and how that product is going.
So basically, I pitched a product called That Period, and what it is essentially cable over the internet. So think of your Comcast or your Cablevision or your Verizon television service, but instead of it coming over coax, it comes over the internet, over your Ethernet. And the premise behind it was that not only would we have local channels, but allow users to access channels overseas as well, straight from the comfort of their living room at a fraction of the cost. So typically, when you pay for television, you're paying, I don't know, $80 a month or maybe $50 a month. Whereas what we were going to offer was up to 12 channels for free, and then $5 or $10 a month to get up to 60 channels, and then an additional fee to get international channels as well. The unique premise behind it was that we had a unique storage mechanism, and I was applying for a patent to organize channels globally, which I was awarded this year.
Congratulations on the patent. What was that journey like? Talk a little bit about the misadventures of that.
So that is it's a learning experience. You have to go through it. So that's the preface. You have to go through the hiccups and the obstacles, and you have to go through it because good sailors are not made in calm waters. So one of the first things that happened was I hired a team to work on it, and they wrote a lot of the back end in Spanish.
Whoa, okay. That is surely, oh, snap my camera. That is surely a misadventure. All right, Spanish. Do you speak Spanish or understand Spanish, Corey?
Well, I can read a little bit of Spanish, but Spanish is not my language. And I was quite vexed about it, and this guy was like, it's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. And when I was bringing on other developers, I was wondering why they didn't want to really work on it, even though I'm paying them. And it's like, one of them told me like, yo, do you know, this shit is in Spanish. I was vexed. Like, we spent months. And the thing is, it's like, when I tell people about entrepreneurship is that, you know, there's different levels to being a human. You know, you have a baby, toddler, child, preteen, teen, young adult, adult. Entrepreneurship is like the highest form of being an adult, which means that you have to be like all the responsibilities assigned to us as adults, you have to multiply that exponentially when it comes to being an entrepreneur. When you're first starting out, you don't know this. Like, oh, you know, I just deal with them like I deal with other things or whatever. When you deal with stuff like this or anything in regards to entrepreneur, you have to be on people. You have to be on top of them. You have to, if you are an introvert, like I am, you have to set that aside and be the bully, because that's how you get things done. You know, you're not going to get anything done, you know, being laid back or cool or whatever. And that was one of the mistakes that I learned, was that I wasn't on top of it as much as I should have. Like, I should have been diving into the database. I should have been diving into the back end. I'm not a coder by trade. My background is IT, but I do understand. I can read code, and if I sit there long enough, I can write something. And so I should have been more proactive about that. So on to the next team.
Team number 2. All right, we went through Spanish. Now we're gonna do French, Portuguese.
So we traveled to India.
Well, okay, we went to India.
And so the thing about working with people from India is that their English is different than ours. And the way that they perceive context, and like if you tell them, you know, if you tell them certain things, they take it very, very literally.
Yep, you have to be like super direct. And I found this out also by outsourcing to other countries.
Yeah,
Like Asian countries, you have to be really like, I want this red. You can't say, oh, that would look nice red. You know?
Yeah.
You have to say, this must be red. And it's just because of like culture barriers and like language barriers. It's like they're in their culture, it's more, if you say this, you mean just this. It's not, oh, should I explore it? Should I, you know, take it apart, put it back together? It's more like, this is what it is. That's, you know, an apple is an apple. It can't be a fruit salad or anything else. It's just, the apple is the apple. So yeah.
Yeah, they don't really do well with improvising, which is what we as I guess we as Americans, we're used to improvising. Or rather, we as entrepreneurs, we're used to improvising. So if something doesn't work right the first way, like, we finagle it. We try to figure it out. With them, listen.
It's just again, culture differences really boils down to that.
Listen, they will give you a straw with more than 2 holes in it. So, and they don't care. And so I learned that the hard way more than twice, actually.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, because it's like, the issue that was happening was they would make mistakes, and then they would want me to pay them to fix the mistake. And the ego in me was like, I'm not doing that. You made a mistake. I'm not dealing with that. And so I went through a lot, working through different Indian teams, a team from Pakistan as well. They're the same. They don't want to fix errors that they make. Like, they made an error, like you write out something and they misinterpret it and they do something else, and you tell them like, hey, you got to fix this because this doesn't make sense what you did. They like, we're charging you extra, and
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that similar situation in a couple of folks. And I think what's behind that is, even though, you know, it was their error, to pay whoever's in the office or the team or whoever's doing it to go back and fix it, because they're so like, this is, you know, once you've done it, you've done it. They have to then repay that person or add more income or whatever it might be. So they're saying, if we're gonna have to sunk that cost, you're gonna have to also.
Yes. Yeah.
They feel, and it's just like because of the cheapness of the labor, it works with a lot of clients. They're like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna just pay you another 100, 200, 300, whatever it may be, to do it over again. But you're right, it should, you know, that shouldn't be happening. So that's definitely, I have seen a trend like that.
Yeah, because I mean, like over here, if we're contracted to do something and we make a mistake, you know, let's say we did a flyer and we misspelled something on the flyer. Listen, you know already, you know that you have to refix it. You know, there's no
or you gotta pay for all those flyers to be redelivered, and you end up, you know, let's say you charge $100 for those flyers to be done. Now you're paying the client $200-300 to fix the error that you made. Or you gonna get sued, and it's just that is a whole different literally world over here.
Yeah, so like, you know, the thing is, like, you can't even go and pay for a flight to go talk to people over there. It's just like, it just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, those were the issues that I had with that period. And also another platform I had developed as well was a marketplace that tracked the depreciation rate of electronic devices and then would allow you to buy and sell those devices using cryptocurrency. Yeah. So like those stuff is like, it's still there. But like what ended up happening is that I met up with in the midst of developing these things, I met up with a friend of mine, and he was like, you know, he was trying to do some stuff with Forex. He was trying to come up with this algorithm to do Forex trading. And he ran it by me, and I was like, okay, this is cool, but to be frank, this is a waste of time. And the reason why it's a waste of time is that your gains are so minuscule in comparison to what you'd get in cryptocurrency. He's like, what's that? And I said, like, you know, check it out. I explained it to him really briefly. And then he went home, he checked it out, and maybe like 2 days later, he was like, I'm all in. Let's do this.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we went to a couple of meetups, and we went to one of Christine's meetup. Christine Natem? Yeah, so front Natem, yeah. We went to one of her meetups, and that's how we met one of our other partners. And he's a gentleman by the name of Earl, real cool guy. And we told him what we wanted to work on, and he was like, "Listen, I'm in." And he brought in his partner from South Africa, and we did what we had to do. We got everything together, and we got into Quake. And Quake
what is Quake? If you want to tell folks really quickly, what is Quake?
So Quake is an accelerator. It's not an incubator. It's an accelerator in New York City. And what they do is they basically allow companies to they bring companies in, they invest in them, and they help them, you know, scale. And so
you got into Quake.
Yeah, so we got into Quake on an algorithm, a trading algorithm that Steve developed. And it was coming along pretty well, but then the market slid, and there's just a whole bunch of like stuff going on. And so while we were working on that, myself and a couple of engineers, junior engineers, we developed Pouch. So I developed the UI. Very crude, and they developed the other aspects of it. And we got it working in like, I'll probably say about 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks.
Congrats. That's like lightning fast. That's
Yeah,
super fast. Yeah.
yeah.
'Cause I guess because you said you had like the algorithm from beforehand, so it was really just putting it into the product.
No, so we didn't put that into it at all.
Oh,
We
what?
developed it. We developed it from pretty much absolute scratch. We had to figure out how to. Um, so like in regards to cryptocurrency, just sending units from one wallet to another, it's an incredible amount of science or math behind it. And we had to learn all that. There's a lot of learning things on the fly, but we got it done, and then we sent it to another dev team to clean it up for us.
Okay.
And fast forward to now, and right now we're raising again.
Nice. All right. So I remember in our pre-conversation you were mentioning one of the misadventures was when you saw money in your account from investors. So in the past couple projects that you launched, where did that money come from? You said you hired like a whole like 3 to 4 development teams. Where was that funding coming from?
From the bottom of my lint-filled pocket.
Oh, okay. All right, so you
So
were bootstrapping, right?
I was,
Bootstrapping with no boots. Like how was that adventure? Like, I
it
hear a
was
lot of people talk about, oh, I don't have enough money to start a business, or I'm not making enough. Talk a little bit more about how you made the money happen to pursue the projects that you wanted to pursue.
so when people say they don't have money,
Mm-hmm.
listen,
It's
unless you're living on the street,
not even you can put a little hat out on the subway, do a
yeah,
little dance.
listen. I saw this guy on the subway. He did his little rap, and he got like about a good 20 $40 in a span of like 5 minutes.
In one cart.
Yeah, in
And
one
there's 10
car.
carts.
In one car. So
Okay.
listen,
Okay.
if when you look at the store of Airbnb, these guys they did the cereal, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how they raise money for towards Airbnb. So in regards to bootstrapping, this came entirely out of my pocket from my work. So I have an apartment, I had a car. I wasn't making a lot of money, but every little bit of money that I had, every time I'd break a 20, the change, I'd save that. Every time I broke a 50, the change, I would save that. I'd break
Mm-hmm.
100, I'd save the change from that. I had a friend of mine. One day I couldn't go to the bank, and she brought all my money. Like I had bundles of cash to bring it to the bank, deposit it, so I could pay the developers and then pay my lawyers as well towards the patent and IP. So you have to sacrifice. I mean, I could have been balling. I
Exactly. With
could
your
have had.
Gucci shoes and your Prada bags and your cool
Listen,
Jordans.
I could have been supremed out. Um, could have had Jordans and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I could have had really nice clothes, but I sacrificed it so that you know, that I could invest in myself or invest in my future. I think I think it paid off. If I had to go back and do it again, um, I'd be a little bit more wiser,
Okay.
or more. Um, I'd be a little bit more involved, a lot more involved, and you know, I would, I would definitely be more involved. So I was involved, but when I say more involved, means to say you call instead of calling these people up once every 2 3 days, you call them up once every day.
Yep.
You do your checks. You make sure you hit your milestones. Um, if they're not, doing what they're supposed to do, peace. Move on to the
Amen.
next one. Um,
Amen.
there's something I've heard that you should always be hiring, or like you're always looking for new people to come on board. You know, hire slow but fire fast in a sense. Um, so like I would have done all that. I mean, there's certainly some mistakes I had made. Um, like even though I knew better, sometimes friends, people, whatever, you get into MLMs, multi-level marketing, because they promise that you're gonna make like you know $20,000 in a month because whatever, and I should have known better. I wasted time and money on that while doing this business because I was thinking, well, if I can have that going on in the background, that can help fund this. Nope, you gotta you can't really divide your money like that unless you're like putting it in stocks or crypto.
Yeah, like a strong stock. And I
Yeah.
think what a lot of people fail to hear or to understand is like, I know some people that have done the MLMs and they're very successful, and I hear people that do them and it's like sucks. But what people forget is that they think, okay, I can do this part-time 2-3 hours a week or whatever. That's like a whole nother full-time job, like beyond full-time. It's like you're working 80 hours a week to get those numbers, and those people that go ham and go crazy, they get that result, and then they try to sell you up on that result, that idea that you could get there by, with limited hours, but it's not real. If you have 100% to give, and if you're giving 40% to your work, your job, another 40% to your business, 10, 15% to your regular everyday life, you only got 5% left, and you're trying to start something else. So just realizing that and not, expecting fast returns, right? This has been a long term coming, but it does come. But you just, as you were mentioning, with like the baby to adult kind of idea. It's like you got to start off by being born first. Then you gotta like crawl, hold your neck up even before you're crawling. Hold your neck up, then you start crawling, then you start walking, and it's like a transitional phase. But you'll get there eventually if you stay persistent. And that's really what I love about your story, is that your persistence is really key to your success. Like now, you got checks coming in. First, you were the one pushing out the money and like making all the sacrifices. You're still making sacrifices, but now that hard work and that dedication that you put in is paying off. And now you're going to the bank and you're seeing deposits being made, right?
Yeah, well that was really interesting. I had never seen that before. And I'm hoping that in the next couple of months I end up seeing it again. Because we're trying to do another raise, or we're in a raise right now. So yeah, it's really interesting because like you just have to be persistent. And the other thing too that and back onto the MLM thing, not knocking it or anything, but people really have to understand that it's not your business.
Say it again. It's not your business.
It's not your business. You are a sales associate. Like when you start a business, you have to file paperwork. You have to set up a corporation, set up a bank account. You may have IP, intellectual property, that you may want to file as well. Like all that stuff, like, you have to go through it. With the MLM, it's all packaged up. You don't own any of that, so that's something that, I think people should really understand, that if you're building something, don't sacrifice it for that. Like build it, like just go through it. When you look at like all these different stories of different entrepreneurs, even like the Complex series, they interviewed Bobby Hundreds and a whole bunch of like different guys, like, and their stories are coming up like, they made sure they tried to build something. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at is that every endeavor that I've attempted at, I've always tried to build something that that's just going to last, and that's big. I like big ideas. I like swinging for the fences. So like with Dot Period, it was about disrupting television, not just here in the US, but globally.
Yeah.
When it comes to tech markets, it's not just about creating a marketplace, it's about creating a marketplace that will rival that of eBay, and Amazon. You know, think of like a bigger version of StockX, but not for sneakers, but rather for electronics, um, and that accepts global currency. Um, and in regards to NodeCapital and Pouch, we're trying to go up against or try to be the first to market in regards to an accounting software that will rival Waves and Xero and QuickBooks and whatever else that that's going to set the industry standard. So like I'm always try to swim for the fences.
The big ideas. And you were saying rival. What if one of these companies come along and they're like, hey, we love what you're doing. We have an offer to acquire Pouch. Would you be open to something like that? Or do you feel it's important to kind of own, long-term, just have it be under like the NodeCapital umbrella?
It depends. We've spoken about it. The partners and we've spoken about like, if someone were to offer to buy us, what would we do? And we said, yeah. However, I have been offered, it's a funny story, and I think it was I think he was kind of serious. He was kind of serious, kind of not, but he was really testing me. So in regards to that period, we were offered $1 million.
Boy, I'm talking to millionaires. Go ahead.
And from a VC, and I said no, and it felt like I don't know if you ever watched or read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, I've read it, but I've never said no to $1 million. But go ahead.
Yeah, and there's a part in the book where Robert and his friend and Rich Dad is offering them money like an hourly wage, and he keeps upping it and upping it and upping it, and eventually like the boys are like, nah, like this doesn't make any sense. Anyhow, the guy, he offered me $2 million, and I said nah, I couldn't do it.
Go ahead.
And then he offered, and I think he was really testing me to see like what kind of like how I think, but then he brought us into a meeting, and my partner on that venture, she just wasn't comfortable with the terms.
Okay.
And I wasn't comfortable with the terms, even though it's like we need this money. And we walked away from it.
I feel like that story right there is something that people should really hear and listen to, because sometimes I've taken this, I felt that this in the past, like taking the first offer that came, you have to realize like what are the pros and cons, where's my project or idea gonna end up, and like the holistic view of the benefits of taking this money, because money sounds nice, who doesn't want $1 million or $2 million, but what's the real sacrifices or circumstances surrounding this decision? And I'm proud of you guys for looking at like all the clauses and reading the small print and really making a decision that made sense for the both of you. So kudos to you, and that's and more people should do that. Like really think about the long term, because I've seen people sell their companies or their products or ideas. Again, I've done the same. Where it's like afterwards, I'm like, maybe that wasn't the best idea or the best decision. So you live and you learn. But good job for making that choice that made sense, the most sense to you guys.
I don't know if you heard this on the Solange album, A Seat at the Table. Master P talks about that. So how someone had offered him $1 million for the record label, and his brother was hounding him like, take the money, take the money. And he said, if this guy's going to give me this amount of money, what am I really worth?
Exactly.
Exactly. And matter of fact, that track was running through my mind the whole time. I'm sitting in this meeting with this guy, and he just happened to bring his lawyer, and he didn't tell us he was going to bring his lawyer, and Nikki, she's sitting next to me, and she's like,
Oh, this
like,
is serious.
yeah, this is serious. Like, like you're really trying to close this deal like right now. And he wanted 60% of the company,
That's a lot.
and he was going to give us money. He was going to give us a lot. He was going to give us a good amount of money, not a million. But he was going to give us a good amount of money. But like we just couldn't do it, you know.
Yeah, kudos to you guys for making the best decision that was right for you. I'd like to start wrapping up now. You know, I really, really appreciate you being here with me today and talking about, you know, the adventures and misadventures of entrepreneurship, because oftentimes, especially right now in 2018 and like the global ecosystem, entrepreneurship is looked at as like this sexy thing. You know, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to launch my business. I'm going to be a millionaire. Take this, blah, blah. Like there's so much like clutter out there. And for those that are, you know, real entrepreneurs, I don't want to knock anybody's path, but it's like for us that are out there hustling, grinding, and then waking up to negative $61 in our accounts and like we're busting our butts, it feels like kind of shitty, because it's like, am I not working hard enough? Am I doing all the wrong things? But you're actually doing all the right things. So this program, this web series that I started, is to really just uncover the truths behind it, right? Show the real, raw, authentic entrepreneur and what it really looks like. So that way the kid that's out there, you know, been busting his butt for the last year, 2 years, doesn't feel the need to quit because some other kid that launched like a sneaker, like a clothing line, is now making like 6 figures because of some random partnership. He has to understand that that was that person's path, and his path or her path is completely different. And you gotta respect the process on this. You just gotta respect the process. It's gonna be high like this sometimes. It's gonna be low down to the floor, like, oh my God, I wanna quit. But just, you know, as for from your story, just be persistent. Just keep going. What are any last words you'd wanna leave the audience with for today?
Raise your risk tolerance. So sometimes we overestimate or we over exaggerate in our mind the consequences of the risk that we're going to be taking.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, sometimes you end up being that little kid screaming in the, you know, the 2-foot deep water. It's like, you're not going to drown. Nothing's going to happen to you. Just try and swim. Just figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
So oftentimes, and, you know, for a lot of people, you know, our backgrounds, our childhoods, or whatever plays a part into that. But sometimes we have to really suspend that and really trying to see the bigger picture of what we're trying to go for, you know, and just raise your risk tolerance.
All right, you guys heard it here from Corey. Raise your risk tolerance. Thank you so much again, Corey, for taking the time out to be here on the Doing the Most web series, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much, Georgie. Thank you for having me.
Check out in the link below, you'll see information of how to contact Corey, how to check out NodeCapital and their new product pouch. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Doing the Most. Catch us here next week, same time, same place. If you can't wait, head on over to doingthemost.xyz to stay connected. Until next time, keep on doing.